Hello everyone, welcome back to Crack Grade B and very good morning all of you. So today we are going to start the sub-schemes of National Rural Livelihood Mission that we have completed yesterday, right? So see, number one scheme which is given over here is Mahila Kisan Sashakti Pariyojana. Now let me tell you that all these schemes are subcomponents of NRLM. First they were started independently, but later on they have been merged under this particular scheme only, right? So obviously, as it is clear for the name itself, Mahila Kisan Sashakti Pariyojana. This is for the farmers which are female, right? The farming family which are female headed. So this covers all those farming families which are headed by the females or where the females are working as a sole member. Now the launch is in the 2011 as a subcomponent of National Rural Livelihood Mission. What the objectives are? They want to organize women farmers at village level in form of producers group. They want to create the support structure for training, capacity building, information sharing, credit technology as well as the marketing of the produce. That means the whole farm related support is provided to women farmers, creating community resource persons from within the community so that they can take the role of support structures. Any high level producers organizations are promoted at a block level for value linkages. DAY NRLM in partnership with the State Rural Livelihood Mission, community based organizations, etc. The funding structure is 60-40 for the general states and 90-10 for the Himalayan or in the northeastern states, and 100% is for the union territories. More than this is not required under this particular scheme, right? Next is, we'll be moving a bit quickly today. Next is Deen Dayal Upadhyay Grameen Kaushal Yojana. Grameen Kaushal Yojana. Obviously, the name is giving the clarity over here that this particular scheme is all about skill development of the rural unemployed youth or whosoever who wants to get trained in the employment structure. So this was launched in 2014. The objective is rural poor youth between 15 and 35 years of age with the purpose to create income diversity in poor families and help rural youth realize their career aspirations. Now, what is the age category? 15 to 35 years, and age relaxation is also provided to SC/ST women and PVTG, particularly vulnerable tribal groups. These are PVTG, these are identified state-wise. So every state, see, there are tribals, but among those tribals also there is a class of particularly vulnerable tribal group who have been more disadvantaged than the tribal community of their own. So these particular PVTGs are identified in every state. There are particularly vulnerable tribal groups, right? So for them, the upper limit has been relaxed up to 45 years of age. Now, how this implementation is going to happen? You see, three-tier implementation is there. Grameen Kaushal Yojana as a national unit, policy making facilitation agency. Then you are having state missions, and lastly project implementing agencies also at the ground level. It provides funding support for placement linked skilling projects. Training partners are the project implementing agencies for the Grameen Kaushal Yojana. Now, who are eligible under this particular scheme? So eligibility revolves around your eligibility in other schemes. So if you are having below poverty line public distribution system card, that is PDS cards, they are also called as Antyodaya Anna Yojana. Ownership of Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana card, family members of self-help group members of registered SHG in a village. This is under DAY NRLM. If there is an SHG which has been registered in the village and you are the member of it, so you are family of the members. Family members of paid workers under the Mahatma Gandhi Narega with a minimum of 15 days of work. Next, mandatory coverage has been mandated for SC/ST women and the disabled population. Same situation is there for SC/ST, 50%, minority 15%, women 33%. Now please see this as a combined data. Out of 100 people, 50 should be belonging to SC/ST category caste wise, right? Out of this 100, 33% should belong to women, right? So these women can belong to any particular caste. We are now classifying the total eligible population gender wise. So as per different calculations, these have been allocated. Funding, central and state government in the ratio of 60-40 in all states except northeast and Himalayan states where the funding is 90-10. See, as and when you will be reading all these schemes again and again, you will be finding a pattern or a similarity in all these particular schemes. See, the funding structures are quite similar. 60-40 for normal states, and if there have been some exceptions or there are some exception scheme, then you can learn about them easily, right? Exceptions can be learned, whereas the general rule is 60-40 for the general states and 90-10 for the northeastern or the Himalayan states. Who is going to be technical support agencies? So NABARD Consultancy Services and the National Institute of Rural Development. These are the technical support agencies. Now, what is the history of it? See, so Grameen Kaushal Yojana has its origin in special projects component of the Swarn Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojana, which was positioned as a holistic livelihood intervention in 2004. So the SGSY special project provided time-bound training in capacity building for bringing a specific number of BPL families above poverty through skilling and placement and providing them the wage employment. I have told you that these particular schemes have been started previously or they have been started recently, but now they have been made a part of your Grameen Kaushal Yojana or NRLM, that is National Rural Livelihood Mission. Earlier they were part of your Swarn Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojana. What you have to remember out of all of this is if it has been a part of an earlier scheme only or not. So this is an exceptional data which you need to remember. The program was revisited under New Skills Framework and repositioned under Ajivika as Deen Dayal Upadhyay Grameen Kaushal Yojana in 2014. Now, why this particular scheme is needed? So, this particular section is for your understanding only, right? So, this particular data has been inserted over here so that you understand that what is the need of the scheme. From exam perspective, this might not be as much important, but for your understanding perspective, it is very important. See, around 64% of India's population is expected to be in the age bracket of 15 to 59 years by 2026. This particular age, if you know what is demographic dividend, you must be knowing that this is called as the working age population. Right? This is working age population between 15 to 59 years by 2026. Around 93% of Indian workforce is employed in unorganized or informal sector. An additional increment requirement of 109 million skilled manpower by 2022. 69% of country's rural youth population between age to 18 and 34 years lives in its rural areas, and India has approximately 55 million rural youth between the age group of 15 to 35 years who are below the poverty line. And next data which is important is this. Only 4.69% of total workforce in India has undergone formal skill training. And just for your information, I would like to tell you that in Korea, this percentage is above 95%. So in their population, whosoever is eligible, maximum, mostly of them have gone through under some skill training, and whereas in India we have just this percentage around 5%. Formal skill training is just at 5%. Now, talking about the placement or certification, guaranteed placement for 70% trained candidates and a minimum remuneration of 6,000 or minimum wages, whichever is higher. For abroad, this minimum remuneration is going up to 25,000. It mandates two type of training. Now, what are two types of training? First is generic training on the soft skills, English and information technology. Next is your trade specific skill training for different durations ranging from 576 hours to 2,300 hours. So, generic as well as the specific training, both are the parts of your program. Now, this particular data has been given depending on the what type of training you have done. Minimum remuneration within India and abroad, depending on the training hours you have spent. 6,000, 25,000. For abroad, in all cases, the minimum remuneration has been kept at 25,000, and for India, the minimum remuneration varies along with the time. Mandates independent third-party assessment and certification. Independent third-party assessment is required. See, you have provided the training. Now, if you will be the person to assess it, there are clashes, right? So, this is not considered as ethical. Hence, if you have provided the training, it is required that someone else should assess your training outcomes. So, hence, third party assessment is required over here. And who are the third parties? NCVT, National Council of Vocational Training, or SSC, that is your Sector Skills Council of National Skill Development Corporation. This Grameen Kaushal Yojana, it funds variety of skill training programs like retail, hospitality, health, construction. Just now we have read now that two particular training verticals are being provided. One is generic and other one is specific. So we are talking about what we are providing under specific. Health, construction, automotive, leather, electrical, gems and jewelries, etc., etc. So in all these verticals, they are providing training for all the persons who are eligible to be covered under this particular scheme. Now, in case of links with the industry, what are the industry internship norms? So, grant in aid is provided to support the cost of boarding and lodging of interns at the rate of 11,250 for a candidate for 1 year. One-time travel cost was also provided to the candidate from the residence to internship center with a cap of 5,000. The project implementing agencies will pay a stipend of 3,000 per month to each candidate during a period of internship, and project implementing agency shall also be required to give captive placement in a job with a salary of minimum 10,000 per month after completion of internship. So all of these are when you have got the linkage with the industry. All these requirements are industry internship related. Now there is a project called Himayat, right? Himayat project has been launched for the skill based training of the rural youth who are living in the Jammu and Kashmir area. So you can remember the particular name because this can be asked. So Himayat, what is Himayat? So this is a special scheme for youth of Jammu and Kashmir, and 100% funding is provided by the central government. It was launched in Srinagar in 2011 for giving training placement to 1 lakh youth over a period of 5 years. And next is Roshni. This is for rural youth of 27 left-wing extremism districts across 9 states, right? So in our previous lectures also I have told you what is left-wing extremism. It is a kind of ideology which wants to overthrow the established government in India, and they want to bring in the people's rule. In many of the states, I remember someone has written down the number of states. Yes, there are many number of states under which left-wing extremism is carried out, but the very much what you can say impacted states are your Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Jharkhand, some part of Jharkhand, and your Kerala, some part of Kerala as well. But in Kerala, because people are educated, such kind of violence has not been seen. But in the other parts of country, we definitely see the violence also taking place around the ideology. Now just wait for 2 seconds. Let's start. Next is SVEP, Startup Village Entrepreneurship Program. And all of the schemes which we are reading right now, they are part of your National Rural Livelihood Mission only. They are the subcomponents of National Rural Livelihood Mission. So this Startup Village Entrepreneurship Program launched in 2015-16. What it wanted to do, it wanted to motivate or enable the rural people so that they can set up their own enterprises. What kind of support this scheme will provide? Information communication technology related techniques, trainings, as well as the capacity building. Skill building support to all entrepreneurs supported under it through CRP-EP, that is Community Resource Persons for Enterprises Promotion. A dedicated Community Enterprises Fund which will provide to finance to the new entrepreneurs, as well as creation of block resource center as the accountable local institution. Means there should be a local institution where if any kind of problem arises to you during the operation of scheme, or if you want to have any kind of support, you can take. So this is block resource center for you. Next is National Rural Economic Transformation Project. Now, this has been launched in 2019. It's going to be close expected in on 30th June 2023. Now, what is the aim of this particular scheme is? Again, the same kind of, see, this is the problem, or what you can say, we have got n number of schemes in India, and these all of these schemes are having similar kinds of objective, right? So this should be a beneficial thing if we try to combine all of these schemes together, because all of the schemes which I have taught you, you might also have seen it for just one kind of purpose with just small variations here and there. We have got n number of schemes to fulfill the same objectives, right? So this is what leads to confusion, diversion of resources, and ultimate benefit is not able to reach to the population. So hence these are the drawbacks. But let's focus on the scheme, that is National Rural Economic Transformation. Again, what is the aim of this particular scheme? Enhancing livelihood promotion, giving finance related support, scaling up initiatives of digital finance and livelihood intervention. Right now, how the funding is taken place under this? So undertaken with the loan assistance from World Bank. The total outlay of the project is US dollar 500 million, out of which US dollar 250 million is a loan assistance from World Bank, and remaining 250 million dollar is the counterpart financing to be provided by the government of India, right? Next is your Ajivika Grameen Express Yojana. This has been launched in 2017. What is the aim of this particular? See, all these schemes are very small, so you can have an understanding of them, revise them once, and you will be through with it. So aim of this particular scheme, Grameen Express Yojana, is providing alternative source of livelihood to members of self-help group by facilitating them to operate public transport in backward rural areas as identified by states. So these rickshaws, e-rickshaws and all those things, this is related to that. Now, fund is also provided to community-based organization under DAY NRLM that will be utilized to support SHG members. What is the time period? For a period of 3 years, that is 2017 to 2020. Maximum amount that can be given for support is 6.5 lakhs and additional amount of 2 lakhs for insurance as well as the maintenance cost. Key feature is they are going to cover 250 blocks in the country. Vehicle could be e-rickshaw, three-wheeler or four-wheeler. So basic aim is Grameen Express, that is related to enabling the transport infrastructure in the backward rural areas, enabling the connectivity in the backward rural areas. Now, each block will be provided up to 6 vehicles to operate transport services. The vehicle will be purchased and owned by CBO and leased to SHG member. Community-based organizations will be providing an interest-free loans from its CIF corpus to SHG members for the purchase of vehicle. Next is your Saras Ajivika Mela. So, it is an initiative of Ministry of Rural Development under your National Rural Livelihood Mission program. They want to bring rural women self-help group under one platform so that they can showcase their skills, sell their products and help them build linkages with bulk buyers. Now, by organizing these particular melas, we are giving national level exposure to rural SHG members so that they can see that what is the demand in the market, what kind of products they should be making, what kind of changes they should be making in their products to make them more saleable. Obviously, these kinds of experiences arise when you visit a marketplace where there is an interaction between buyer and seller. This is organized by Council for Advancement of People's Action and the Rural Technology, which is the marketing arm of under the ministry. And currently, the famous Saras Ajivika Mela, focusing on the theme of tourism, tradition, art and culture, was organized second time in Noida from 25th February to 13th March 2022 at Noida Hat. More than 300 craftsmen participated in it. Now next is your Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen. Who's going to tell me that what was the name of this particular scheme earlier? We have read about it. What was the name of this particular scheme earlier? Anyone? Anyone who would like to remember this particular thing? So this was launched in 2016 in Agra, but we were having this particular scheme from the very start on. This was known as Indira Awas Yojana. Right? This was known as Indira Awas Yojana. Aim was what? To construct houses for the BPL families in villages. History is IAY 1996 Indira Awas Yojana. It was launched and it got restructured as the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen with effect from 2016. Coverage is rural areas throughout India except Delhi and Chandigarh. Why except Delhi and Chandigarh? Because there are no rural areas in both of these UTs. Now let's see that who all are the beneficiaries under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen. So beneficiaries will be identified by socio-economic caste census of 2011. List is presented to Gram Sabha for validation of beneficiaries. Houseless households who are living in 0, 1 or 2 Kacha wall, Kacha roof are prioritized under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen. Now, how the funding will be happening? 60 to 40 for general states. That means 60% will be contributed by your central government and 40% will be contributed by your state government. Administrative expenses 4% of the program funds. Now how does this social audit thing? So social audit we have already understood in the MG Narega scheme, right? That particular social audit component is also there in this scheme as well. So social audit is mandatory by Gram Sabha social audit units which are set up by state utility government under Manrega Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. State social audit units should ensure that social audit of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen is conducted in every Gram Panchayat once in a year. Next, who are the training partners? National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj along with State Institutes of Rural Development is the training partner for the capacity building. What are, there have been two phases which have been completed. Phase 1, aim was 1 crore Pakka houses by the March 31st, 2019 and phase 2 aim was 1.95 crore houses up to 2022 and 2.95 crore houses to be constructed by March 2024. Now, what is the benefits which are being provided? Now, this particular part is important, the benefits part. So, assistance which is given by the government, that this is cash assistance. 1.2 lakhs is given in the plain areas and 1.3 lakhs is given in the hilly areas. Facility of loan is also there up to 70,000. Assistance of 12,000 for building toilet under the Swachh Bharat Mission Grameen. 60% of the funds for SC/ST, 15% of the funds for minorities and 5% of the funds have been reserved for the physically disabled people. Minimum size is 25 square meters with hygienic cooking space. Entitled to 90 to 95 days of unskilled labor under Mahatma Gandhi Narega scheme. 90 days will be provided in plain area, 95 days work will be provided in the hilly areas. This amounts to about 18,000 rupees. That means you are also eligible for the free labor under the Mahatma Gandhi Narega program. The house is electrified under the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana or the Saubhagya scheme of Ministry of Power. Free LPG collection under Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. So do not get confused, there are two Ujjwala Yojanas, right? One Ujjwala Yojana is for the women in distress or women who need assistance, right? And next is this Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana which is related to the LPG cylinder distribution. Efforts are also being made for providing piped water supply under Jal Jeevan Mission. So this scheme has been a combination of all the schemes, and obviously a good house or a house where we can live comfortably requires all these amenities, and hence all these particular schemes have been made a part of this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme. Multi-level monitoring to social audit, national level monitors, Disha committees which are headed by members of parliament. Disha is related to a digital arm. Next is central and state government officials, evidence-based monitoring and assessment of impacts. So how does monitoring happens? Now this is where the digital component comes into place. Geotagging of the houses made. The scheme is monitored through end-to-end e-governance model using management information system. Awas Soft and Awas app, these are the mobile applications, and payment to the beneficiaries is routed through direct benefit transfer into the accounts of beneficiaries. Next is continuation of the scheme. It has gone beyond March 2021 till March 2024 as per the existing norms to complete remaining houses within a cumulative target of 2.95 crore houses. Total financial implication for the construction of remaining 155 lakh houses is 2 lakh crores, approximately 2 lakh crores. Central share is 1.25 lakh crores and state share is 73,000 crore for achieving the cumulative target of 2.95 crore houses in the rural areas under Pradhan Mantri Grameen Yojana, Awas Yojana. Okay. Now next see Rural Housing Interest Subsidy Scheme. It was launched in 2017. Just wait for a second. Yes, so Rural Housing Interest Subsidy Scheme, it was launched in 2017, and what we wanted to give in it was cheap and easy access to institutional loans for the households who are living in rural areas and not covered under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen for construction or modification of their houses. So obviously Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen, we have understood that the eligible beneficiaries are all those who are identified through the socio-economic and caste census 2011. Now what about others who are in the need of funds but they are not listed in the socio-economic caste census of 2011? Means again there here the concept comes that poverty is beyond caste and religion, right? So that is the thing which is being covered over here. You are giving loan for other people who are not covered under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. It will cover entire India excluding the statutory town as per census 2011. Who is going to implement this? So Ministry of Rural Development through the nodal agencies. A maximum loan amount of first 2 lakhs irrespective of the quantum of housing loan for 20 years or full period of loan, whichever is less. Now what are the particulars over here? Interest subsidy per annum will be provided up to 3%. Maximum housing loan tenure is 20 years. Eligible housing loan amount for interest subsidy is up to 2 lakhs and discount rate for the NPV calculation or net present value calculation is 9%. Now this is something which we use when we make a capital decision or capital investment, capital budgeting related decisions. This NPV is used by us in that particular moment. But please focus over here. You see the loan amount eligibility over here is 2 lakh. Why? Because government is providing the assistance under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana in the plain areas up to 1.2 lakh for the construction, and if you sum up all the kinds of benefits it will come around 2 lakh only. So government here is not differentiating. Government is not giving you loan to make a lavish house, right? Government is giving you a loan so that you can construct a functional house with basic facilities and basic amenities. So hence the loan amount is this much. Next is National Housing Bank has been identified as the central nodal agency. That means National Housing Bank along with Ministry of Rural Development is the implementing agency under this particular scheme. Primary lending institutions who have been identified are commercial banks, housing finance companies, regional rural banks, state cooperative banks, urban cooperative banks, as well as the non-banking finance companies, etc. Microfinance institutions. In addition to state government, the state level bankers committee will monitor the scheme in the states through its prevalent institutional mechanism. All constructions would be geo-referenced. That means where the particular house has been constructed, geotagging would be done for that particular house so that it can be made corruption free and there are no bogus benefits which have been taken under this particular scheme. So this is to ensure that. Now next is Shama Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission, that is National Urban Mission. Now what is the aim of this particular scheme? आत्मा गांव की सुविधाएं शहर की. That means they want to create rural clusters, they want to develop it, they want to make it self-sufficient, and so that these rural clusters can become a growth in charge for all the areas nearby, right? So suppose they want to develop a rural cluster or a rural town, so that all the rural villages which are around that particular town, maybe that can be developed on their own, because government has to kick start, just government has to take just one step, and all the other development things they follow by their own. Suppose you have developed a cold storage facility in your area. Now as soon as you have developed cold storage, the farmers in your area, they will be benefited the most. Roads will be constructed, private sector organizations will also come nearby, that means ancillary industries will also come nearby. So you just have to develop just one infrastructure related facility, and the other things they develop on their own, right? So see over here what the aim is. This was launched in 2016, and the aim is to create 300 rural growth clusters in 5 years. The Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission follows the vision of development of cluster of villages that preserve and nurture the essence of rural community life with focus. The objective of this particular scheme is to stimulate local economic development, enhancing basic services, and creating well-planned clusters. This is inspired by Pura, or the provision of urban amenities to rural areas. It was a pilot program since 2004. First, see the eligibility. 25,000 to 50,000 in plain areas. These rural clusters have been chosen, and 5,000 to 15,000 population in the desert or hilly or tribal areas. Now, what are the components that have been desirable in each cluster? That means what are the components on which you will be working in these rural clusters? So, number one is skill development training, agro processing or agri services, fully equipped mobile health unit, upgrading education facility, sanitation, piped water, solid liquid waste management, village streets, street lights, inter-village road connectivity, public transportation, LPG gas connection, digital literacy, and CSEs. CSEs are common service center. Common service center, because we know in today's time every government service is now online. And if villagers have to check or have to avail any of the government service, then they can go through common service center. This can be equated with the e-mitra facility that we have, right? So for e-delivery of citizen-centric services, these are the facilities. So these are the 14 facilities, and these are not just limited, right? They can go beyond than this also, but first of all, they have been focused onto this 14 components, so that village life can be made much easier, as well as it will lead to ultimately economic growth of the village. Why economic growth? Because you are also focusing on the road and transport connectivity. Now, how the funding will happen? So, critical gap funding will be provided in addition to the funds available in the project through various schemes. The entire critical gap funding will be funded by the mission through the ministry. Now, focus on this. We have got a Pradhan Mantri Grameen Sadak Yojana. What is the aim of Pradhan Mantri Grameen Sadak Yojana? To construct roads, right? We have got an PM Ujjwala Yojana. The aim of this is to provide LPG cylinders for all those who are eligible for that. So you see, different schemes are already covering the components. Like your Swachh Bharat mission has got solid and liquid waste management as one of its objective. So the number of schemes we have, these schemes are already doing their work. Funds have been allocated under this particular schemes. Now this mission says that if funds are not sufficient under those particular schemes, then critical gap funding will be provided under this particular urban mission. Additional funding, that is 30% or the project cost of 30 crore per cluster, whichever will be lower, and 70% by the state. 70% will be taken up by the state and 30% will be given by the Ministry of Rural Development. Additional funding of 30 crores of 15 crores in the desert or tribal area and 70% will be provided by the state. Now, what are the role of state government? State governments will prepare integrated cluster action plan that would lay down the development aspirations of the cluster in consultative manner. State will also identify existing central sector, centrally sponsored and state government schemes which are relevant for development of the cluster. So please remember this particular thing. Critical gap funding. Now let's see the implementation at national level. This will be run at center by National Mission Directorate headed by Joint Secretary of Ministry of Rural Development. They would be supported by National Mission Management Units and empowered committed EC headed by Secretary Ministry. The function will be they will approve the action plans which have been submitted by the states, integrated community action plans. They approve the critical gap funding for the cluster and they will take the necessary decisions and steps to ensure the coordination with other central ministries. Obviously, the work of them over here is whatever the plan has been submitted by the state, they will see for it whether the things which have been provided are clear or not, whether you can go ahead with the plans which have been provided by the states. So all these things will be taken care of. Implementation at the state level, who is going to be implementing here? So Department of Rural Development or the department whichever is nominated by the state governments. It might happen that Department of Rural Development might not be present or might be there with some other designation, right? I hope that you guys know, in case of central government we are having ministries, then below ministries we are having departments. But in the state government's case, we only have departments. There are no ministries in the state governments. So the department will be supported by state project management unit to be set up by the department. Preferably the selected agency should be under the administrative domain of state government's Panchayati Raj department or the rural development department, whatever name might be under that particular state government. A state level empowered committee headed by chief secretary will recommend or approve the action plans before submission to the mission directorate. So chief secretary will be the ultimate authority under the state government. Chief secretary is the IAS officers or the RAS officers who are working under the state. Now implementations at district level. A district project management unit may be set up at district collector's office with up to 3 professionals. What are 3 professionals? Regional planning specialist, convergence specialist, rural development specialist. These existing pool of Prime Minister Rural Development Fellows of the state wherever present may also be engaged. So they will be reporting to district collector. So they will be doing their work of district related planning and ultimately they will be reporting to district collector. Implementation at the cluster level. Cluster level development and management units will be set up for each urban villages with at least 2 professionals, that is special planning professional and rural management development professional. What will be the aspect of their work will be special planning aspect and the action plan preparation for the cluster. Now we have seen so many project development agencies or the components over here. What is important for you is what is the agency that is implementing this particular scheme at the central level. That is important. At the state level, you already know that the department is rural development or the Panchayati Raj department and the officer responsible is your chief secretary. So that is how you should be bifurcating data into the easier aspects. At cluster level, these units will be maintained. So this can be understood in easy format. But what you have to remember is mainly that who is going to be responsible at central level and who is going to be responsible at the state level. Now let's talk about the funds under this particular mission. So ministry will be releasing 35 lakhs per urban cluster approved in the state for the preparation of the action plans. Ministry of Rural Development will be giving these funds. This will be adjusted against the 2% administrative budget for each state. The funds would be released in 3 installments at appropriate stages of the project cycle. First installment will be released after the approval of action plan by the ministry. Second installment of 30% will be released after the submission of DPR approvals by the state level committees, approval of the final CGF for the committee by the ministry, which will be followed with the commencement of construction activities and the site. And lastly, third installment will be released after submission of utilization certificate in accordance with the rules and a field visit by the ministry. So bifurcate this into 3 parts. First, when your action plan is approved. Next, when your construction has been started, and lastly when your construction has been complete. So these are the 3 stages under which your installments will be given. The question can be, the whole payment will not be given in one go. The payment will be given in the installments amount. Next is your implementing agencies. They will transfer 35% of the GRAF funding received as third installment to the project, and balance 5% shall be transferred after the completion of construction of all project components. They'll also verify the project through the site visits. A copy of completion report will have to be sent to the ministry for information and record. Now, how these rural urban clusters will be selected? So there are 2 categories of clusters under this. One is non-tribal and the other one is tribal. The state may identify a large village that are growth centers with resources available that can potentially lead to economic transformation of the region. So this is like, suppose there is one village which is larger in size and there are small villages which are surrounding this particular village. So state government will select this one because it has having a potential for economic transformation of the region. The growth centers could also be block headquarters, villages or census towns. The clusters could be then formed by identifying geographically contiguous villages. Now all these villages who are nearby, they will be getting together under this particular scheme. All those villages which are in the radius of 5 to 10 kilometers around the identified center. Now what are non-tribal clusters? For selection of non-tribal clusters, the ministry would provide a list of leading such districts to each state within which clusters could be identified. Now, these subclusters will be identified based on the parameters. These parameters are important. What is the decadal growth of rural population? Decadal growth in non-farm work participation means all those people who are not working in the farms. What is the percentage of them? What is the presence of economic clusters or the economic growth opportunities? What all are present here? Presence of places of tourism and religious significance, proximity to transport corridors, and appropriate weightages have been given to the each parameter. Thereafter, these sub-districts which are identified by the ministry, they could select the clusters and they could include the following parameters into them. Now, what would be the parameters that will be included by the ministry? Rural population, rise in land value, non-farm work population, enrollment in girls in the secondary schools, households with the bank account, performance in Swachh Bharat mission, as well as the good governance schemes, right? So, state governments, these are the parameters which have been said that state governments can also include these additional parameters. If you see clearly, you can see that there are 10 parameters, and if any cluster village that is forming under within this particular parameter, those villages will be selected accordingly. If your performance in Swachh Bharat mission is not that great, that means you need an additional assistance in order to create growth for you. If you are already performing well, in that particular cases, the government assistance is needed but less needed. But if you are not performing well in all these parameters, in that particular scenario, government assistance is must for you. Now, a total weightage of 80% would be given for the first 4 parameters, and states will have the flexibility to choose the last 3 parameters subject to a total of 20%. Now, tribal clusters, for identification of tribal clusters, ministry would select the leading sub-districts which are falling within top 100 tribal districts of the country based on the population figure. So, on the basis of this, they will be deciding that what should be the population figure. With this, we have wrapped up your schemes on rural development ministry. I hope that you have understood them as well. And thank you so much for watching.